Halit Barel is former director at Israel's National Security Council. She is now joining us live from Tel Aviv. Madam Barel, it's good to see you again. Thank you very much for making time for us and welcome to the show.
Thank you.
What do you make of the proposals made by Hamas and the Palestinian Authority? Is the 135-day truce feasible, and how is Israel likely to react?
Well, we're going to hear the formal reaction, I believe, tonight from Prime Minister Netanyahu. That is at least what we're told this time. As to the substance of the proposal, there are a lot of problematic points in it. They don't necessarily have to do with aid, and they don't necessarily have to do with exchange of prisoners, but they do have to do with the notion that Hamas is still operating under, in which it's a October 6th kind of notion, where Israel is willing to have a back and forth with Hamas, and Hamas will remain in power in the Gaza Strip, and that is absolutely not going to be acceptable. So Hamas has put forth a very long period for the exchange, because what they're aiming at, of course, is a cessation of the war because of their situation, because they are encircled in Khan Yunis, because they're in their last days of ability to really control the situation. They also expect a full withdrawal of the IDF from the Gaza Strip, which also, I think, at this point is a bit of a fantasy. At the very least, the IDF would have to set up a security parameter within the Gaza Strip, at the very least. So there are several points of contention. The real question is, will Israel view this as a platform for continued negotiations, or will it set up a statement or a declaration where it's saying that this is a non-starter? And it's a very complicated situation.
All right, let's talk about Israel then. The wartime Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has repeatedly said the war will not end until Hamas has been eliminated. But now he's under pressure both at home and globally, given the number of civilian casualties is rising. How is it going to turn out for Bibi in the coming days if this pressure, even from the war cabinet, becomes overwhelming?
Well, he's definitely in a very difficult political situation, a catch-22, which he created for himself, one must say, with this government that's been constructed. It's hard for him to, and undesirable in a sense, for him to reach kind of a quick conclusion to this situation, which would imminently result in immediate elections or very close by elections, in which he will most likely, according to every poll, lose drastically. Also, his government is composed of very right-wing components, such as Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich on the right hand, who are opposing these kind of numbers that we're seeing in prisoner exchange, and are threatening that, depending on who the prisoners are and what their numbers are, they would leave the government if a deal is signed with that component in it. On the other hand, he has managed to get into his government Benny Gantz and Gadi Eisenkot from the center, who are now the stronger political powers in Israel. And they have made it very clear that their first priority is the return of the hostages, and moving along with regulating what is going to happen in the Gaza Strip. So one of the big problems Israel is facing is that the prime minister is not taking a decision as to who will regulate the Gaza Strip. And as a result of that, what we're seeing right now is a vacuum. And for example, we know for a fact that about 70% of the humanitarian aid entering the Gaza Strip goes to Hamas rather than to the population. This is because the vacuum of allowing other components to come in and start regulating and administrating the civilian aspect of the Gaza Strip. So as long as Hamas holds on to that, it holds on to power, which is a contradiction to Israel's first goal, which is diminishing Hamas's military capability and diminishing Hamas's governing capability. So again, a decision has to be made, and one way or another, it has to be made in the next coming days.
All right, I've been talking to Halit Barel. She is the former director at Israel's National Security Council. Madam Halit Barel, thank you very much, as always, for talking to WION World is One today. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.